Zindagi Matters, special edition on mental health and human rights. Supported by Taiwan Foundation for Democracy.
Hello and welcome to Zindagi Matters. The guest today is a survivor of domestic violence. How she survived, how she escaped, and how her freedom, human rights, self-esteem, dignity was crushed. I think it would be better to listen from her only. Welcome to the show, Vaishali Lalwani.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much for having me here and for giving me the opportunity to share my story. And I'm hopeful that, I'll be able to at least help one person who's going through this right now. Mm-hmm.
Yours was an arranged marriage, right?
Not exactly arranged marriage. So I met him through a matrimonial app called Shadi.com. And it was in early 2017. So that's how I met him. He was very sweet initially, like way too sweet, like you're mine and all that stuff, like everything that a girl would want in a guy. Yeah, so.
So what happened after marriage?
When I first started talking to him, he was working in Dubai. And I had just left my job in Mumbai. I was working with Bollywood music composers, very famous people. I was working with them as their assistant music director. I worked with them for at least 6 years, and I had left that job. And I was back to Gujarat due to some, family reasons. My elder brother had passed away. So I had to come back for that, and after that I decided, okay, it's time to get married, and I
How old
created
were
my
you,
profile.
if I may ask?
I was 27 at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so I created my profile on Shadi. I was very hopeful and positive. If you know me, right, you would say that, I'm very positive about everything in my life, so. As soon as I created the profile, I met this guy. He seemed perfect. He seemed the way that even though I was looking for someone who was not settled in India or other, Middle Eastern countries, but I liked him initially. And since the time we started talking, he started rushing me into marriage, let's get married, let's get married. At that time, I didn't think too much about it. I thought he just loved me. And, he wants to spend the rest of his life with me. So we decided, he proposed to me. I said yes. And we got married in Madurai. That's where he is from originally. And marriage happened in Madurai. After that, we went to Hyderabad. That's where we applied for our visa for the US. And within 15 days, it got approved. But during that 15 days, one time, it was like literally 1 week into our marriage. At night time, I was sleeping. It was about 3 a.m. And I hear him talk to someone over the phone, and it was a girl. So I went and I asked him, like, what are you doing? Who are you talking to? That's literally 1 week into a marriage. Okay. So he said, it's just a friend. I was like, okay, let's go to sleep. So I didn't think too much about it. Okay. That was done. 15 days later, we went to the US. He had not got a job yet, but his employer had, called him there. So I was on dependent basically. And while we there, we had to change places till the time he got like a permanent project to work on. So initially we went to San Francisco. So I'm telling you everything that happened, during that time. So first we landed in San Francisco. His friend came to pick us up, Anna. Anna in South India means like big brother. So I used to call him Anna. So he was there. He came to pick us up, and he checked us in a hotel in Pacifica, which is like 50 to 70 miles from San Francisco. So we went there. and he got way too drunk, and then he was in the shower. I was sitting outside in the room. He left his
Hmm.
phone outside, and his phone
Hmm.
kept beeping.
Hmm.
And I see it, and I see messages saying, "Hi, baby, 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 baby." I was like, "Who's this?" When he came out of the shower, I asked him nicely, like, "Who's this?"
Hmm.
And instead of, explaining what's going on, he started yelling at me.
Hmm.
And as soon as I was like, "What are you doing? I'm just asking you nicely." And then he pushed me. He was way too drunk at the time. And he pushed
Hmm.
me. That was the first time someone had been physical with me, that
Hmm.
way. Like even my parents have never put a hand on me. Never.
Hmm. Hmm.
And he pushed me. And I was like, "What are you doing?" And I got very scared. I was shocked. I was like lost. I was like, "What's going on? Why is he
Hmm.
doing that?" And
Hmm.
as if that was not enough, he spit on me.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And this is just 15 days after your
This is
marriage.
literally 15 days as soon as we got to the US.
Hmm.
Like a complete shift in personality.
Hmm.
And like I didn't know what to do. I just landed and this, like you can imagine, what I must be
Hmm.
going through.
Hmm.
And so I asked Nandana to get me another
Hmm.
room,
Hmm.
and I was there. I didn't talk to him for a few days, and I was
Hmm.
thinking as to what to do. Should I just leave him? What to do? Like I cannot take this. But
Hmm.
during that few days, he's like, "I'm sorry, baby, it won't happen again." Like, that gaslighting and manipulation, it started.
Hmm.
And I believed him. I was like, okay, maybe he was drunk. And then he promised me, and he had lied
But
about that
Vaishali,
girl.
you saw the messages on the phone,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Exactly. Before, as in that night time in Hyderabad, when he was talking to that girl, he had told me she's just a friend. And that friend is now calling him baby and all that stuff. So when I asked him, like, why are you still talking to him? That 2, 3 days, he's like, "I'm sorry, it won't happen again." She was crying. She wants to commit suicide and all that stuff. I was like, what do you have to do with that? I mean, you should have told me earlier. Like, I don't have any problem with you having any relationship in the past. We all do,
Hmm.
but lying about it, hiding about it is not
Hmm.
good. And then getting aggressive like this it's crazy. I did not sign up
Hmm.
for this. I stayed with him for altogether almost 6 months from,
So, how did you and when did you decide to leave? And how challenging was it?
honestly, when every time I would think of leaving him, I was thinking that it would be challenging. It would be very tough since I don't know anyone in the country. That's the first thought for someone
Hmm.
who's going abroad as a dependent,
Hmm.
especially.
Hmm.
Like you're
Hmm.
dependent, the word says it all. But
Hmm.
luckily enough, God had given me so much strength. This happened in January 2018. It was 18th of January, okay? And the argument started over garlic chutney. Believe it or
Over?
not, garlic chutney. Garlic chutney.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Hmm.
this was January 18th.
Hmm.
And he started getting verbal over garlic chutney. I
Hmm.
said, "I make amazing garlic chutney." He said, "My mom makes amazing garlic chutney." I said, I mean, just a fun conversation turned into violent, aggressive thing. And then he literally had my head, and he started banging my head towards the wall. He did it 5 times, 6 times, 7 times. I'm bleeding, and I'm almost like half unconscious, and he's yelling at me, he's choking me. Our neighbors, we were in the apartment. Okay, so
Hmm.
our neighbors heard, they called the cops.
Hmm.
So cops, they broke the door, they came, and as soon as he heard the cops are coming in, he tried to go to the balcony. We
Hmm.
were on the fifth floor, and
Hmm.
he's going to the balcony, and he's telling me that if you tell the cops everything, I'll jump off the building. I'm half unconscious. Okay.
Hmm.
I'm still able to understand what he's trying to do. Okay. But I was like, and as soon as they came in, they put him in handcuffs. I was taken to the hospital right away,
Hmm.
and they ran test on me, MRI scan, CT scan. The doctors told me if the wound was like 1 inch a little bit to the left, I would have been dead.
Hmm.
It was that brutal. And so yeah, the test came out all clear. And
Hmm.
I was treated for 2, 3 days, and he was given also restraining order to not come near me.
Hmm.
And then he went to the jail. He was
Hmm.
arrested for that. At that time, I decided to tell the cops everything. Even before that, also when we were in Houston, okay, before this incident.
Hmm.
One time he beat me so much, he almost killed me, like he choked me. He broke my guitar, he broke the table. This was Airbnb apartment. Like we have this Oyo, right, in India.
Hmm. Hmm.
So in the US, we had Airbnb till the time he got the permanent job. We were moving around from San Francisco to Houston and stuff. Eventually,
Hmm.
we ended up living in Los Angeles, California.
Hmm.
So this incident in Houston, this was, I think, September 17 or October 2017, around that time.
Hmm.
Also, again, for the same girl, ex-girlfriend.
But tell
Okay.
me, Vaishali, he already knew the girl, right? Because you told me
Mm-hmm.
that at night he was talking to her. Then why
Correct.
did he marry you?
Exactly. My question to him. Like, if that was the thing, why did you even marry me? You
Hmm.
should have just gotten in touch with her. So reason he said, oh, she's very selfish and she's that, she's this, like how usually guys would do.
Hmm.
Talk bad about the girl who they just break up with. So that's his gaslighting, way of gaslighting and manipulating.
Hmm.
He's like, I love you, I'll do this for you, I'll do that for you. Like, if you read his messages, right, even you'd kind of fall for it.
Hmm.
So, and that Houston also incident, he beat me so much, he choked me. That time I had bruises on my face, I had bruises on my hands, and
Hmm.
our neighbors came, he locked me inside the room when he
Hmm.
heard the knocking on the door.
Hmm.
So I don't say anything to them. So he locked
Hmm.
me inside, and neighbors came and they asked, like, what's going on? Do we need to call
Hmm.
911? Is the number they dial there, to call the police?
Hmm.
And he's like, no, no, everything is okay. All that stuff, just a little argument, he said. Whereas only he is the one who's screaming and yelling. I mean, obviously they understood, neighbors understood, that's why they came. So they just left, and I was very scared. I started packing my bags, and I had to tell my dad everything. I called him, and so my dad called his parents, and like, what's going on. Then his parents, they called me. They're trying to convince me, sorry, sorry, it won't happen. Beta, beta, they will do okay. We
Hmm.
will tell him not to do this. We didn't raise him like this, that, blah, blah, blah.
Hmm.
And a few days later, again, I got convinced. Okay.
Hmm.
So this happened again. It happened in
Because
another
it is said
Airbnb
that 7 times a woman goes back before she takes a final call.
7 times.
Yes.
That's what I'm counting right now. I mean, not return per se. Like um, within that 6 months, he at least beat me 5 to 6 times, and 7 time is when I decided to come back to him. I left everything in the US in June 2022. I believed him because it had been 4 years, and all 4 years he's sending me emails and trying to call my parents and showing them I'm taking medicine for my
Oh, you came
bipolar.
to India in 2018, but you went back.
I was in the US only until 2022.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
So after he got arrested, okay, in 2018,
Hmm.
he was asked not to come near me. He was in the jail. He got bail, and then
Hmm.
he came back to the apartment where I was. Again, he didn't follow the law.
Hmm.
If I wanted, I would have called the police, but I
Hmm.
didn't. In my head, I had decided that I'm leaving. I don't want to stay here till the time
Hmm.
I figure out where to go, who to call, because I was on a dependent visa.
Hmm.
And I mean, I was taking my time to figure out. When my parents were helping me out, they were calling several people. They were trying to, get in touch with the family friends that we had. Luckily, my dad had many family friends in the
Hmm.
US. So, but after he came back during that time, his mother also came back in 2 days. As soon as,
Hmm.
I feel like his mother only got him bailed out. She sent
Hmm.
money to somebody, and they're living on 25,000 per month pension. Imagine. They had to sell everything to get their son out of the jail.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the only one time that they had to do that for him. Even in the past, after I realized, I spoke to a few of his friends, they told me about one incident, that had happened in front of them where he had gotten aggressive with some other girl
Mm-hmm.
and all that stuff. So they came back and him and his mother, they made my life hell while I
Mm-hmm.
was there during that 10 to 15 days while I'm figuring out where to go.
Mm-hmm.
She wouldn't let me drink milk. She wouldn't let me take shower more than 5 to 10 minutes. Imagine, I mean, my dad had always kept me like a princess. Like
Mm-hmm.
never say no for anything and all that stuff. And then you go through this instead of, explaining to your son, like what you've done is wrong. Now, if instead of him, if it was my brother, I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't take his side if he had done that to his wife, or even my parents wouldn't take his side.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I always say it's also about the upbringing. Parents play a very important role in how you turn out to be when you grow up. So that 15 days, they made my life hell, like literally hell. I couldn't breathe even for a second. One day I had went out to get something to eat. I come back and I see my luggage and everything is outside the apartment.
Oh my God. Oh.
Yes. And so yeah, I had to last minute. My dad had to call one of his friends. His name is Shiman Uncle. He had been very helpful, to me. Very, very, very helpful. I'm still grateful to him. He's like my
Mm-hmm.
father. He was like my father, in America at the time that I stayed there. So he called his brother's sister was there in Irvine, which is like 2 hours from LA.
Mm-hmm.
And so as soon as, they came to know that they had done this, they had thrown my stuff out. He broke my debit cards, from our joint account and all that stuff. Luckily, I had a separate account also. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, they sent, my uncle sent his brother's daughter to pick me up. She left everything and she came right away. She picked me up and then she took me under her wings and
Mm-hmm.
I was with her. And during that time, LAPD, I mean Los Angeles Police Department, they got me in touch with many attorneys to, get my work permit. They were very helpful, like the law department and the US government altogether, very helpful, very, very, very
Mm-hmm.
helpful. And during that time, the case also went into the court. And so within 2, 3 months, I had my work permit. And as soon as I got my work permit, I got my first job in IT company as a marketing manager. So I started working there. And within that time, they had also called me to the court to testify against him, which I did. And then he eventually pleaded guilty. And a few months later, I come to know that he was arrested again for DUI, drinking under influence, which is like a very big crime in the US. It can even get you deported. And he didn't even have a license. So he got arrested and few days later he just left the country.
He left the
Yeah.
country.
He just left the country. Even in my case, he had probation, he had the punishments that he had to finish. He didn't do anything. He just left.
So where
And
did you go?
after that, I came to know that he was in India for 6, 7 months and then he got a job in Qatar. And first he got a job in Dubai. There also, again, he had drinking problems and 5, 6 months. They asked him to resign. He resigned. Again, he came back to India for 6, 7 months and then he got a job in Qatar. There again, because of drinking issues, he got arrested. His neighbors, they complained, like, can you please keep the music down because he was drinking and, making nuisance. And in
Hmm.
Qatar, they're very strict about this.
Hmm.
So neighbors came, he didn't listen to them. And then they eventually called the police. The police came, they arrested him, they took his passport.
Hmm.
Everything. In Qatar, if you're arrested, they won't release you unless
Hmm.
your Indian embassy issues you an emergency certificate. So they did that and he was deported from Qatar. After that, he came back and he was in India only. And after that, he's like, I've learned my mistakes. And then according to him, he started taking his medication for bipolar. I was always supportive of his mental health because I
Did you
understand,
know about his mental health
not
before
before
marriage?
marriage. No, no,
How did you come
no.
to know about it?
This was during the time while I was staying with him. One day he had asked me to send a picture of a document. He was in the office, so he needed
Hmm.
a document, So he asked me to go through his bag and find that document and to send him a picture of that.
Hmm.
So while I was doing that, I found few medicines in his bag.
Hmm.
So I didn't ask him directly because, you like that 6 times that I was staying with him, I was living in fear. Like
Hmm.
I would not even speak freely, like I am otherwise a very free person. Like whatever is in my heart is in my mouth. Like
Hmm.
I'm like that. But
Hmm.
the time that I was with him, I was in so much fear. Like I would get scared even to like talk about something, thinking, what if he gets aggressive and
Hmm.
all that stuff. So I didn't ask him directly what these medicines were, but instead I did Google search and I
Hmm.
sent the medicine pictures to one doctor here in India.
Hmm.
And they told me it's for some mental thingy. But few days later, I eventually asked him, what is this for?
Hmm.
When he was not drunk.
Hmm.
So that time he told me that he's diagnosed with this bipolar. And I
Hmm.
asked him if he's taking his medication and he said no. And when I found out, I didn't have any problem with that because I understand mental health problem. Before that I had
Hmm.
not been through depression or any other things, but I knew people, who were going through
Hmm.
certain mental issues, who needed the emotional and mental support.
Hmm.
But along with that, you also need medication to calm your nerves.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I tried to help him a lot. I even asked him to go see a doctor, to go get therapy, but he didn't listen. Never.
Hmm.
So that's how I found out. But his mental health was not a problem for me, but
Hmm.
how it was affecting him and then him not doing anything about it was a problem. Like
Hmm.
it's just like you have health issues. Like you
Hmm.
have fever, you have cold, you get it
Hmm.
treated. It's mental health is the same way. If you don't get it treated, it's gonna get worse with time.
You are listening to Zindagi Matters, special edition podcast on mental health and human rights, supported by Taiwan Foundation for Democracy.
How
Hmm.
did this all impact your well-being, your mental health?
It took me a lot of time to get out of the trauma. I was
Hmm.
depressed. I thought it was done. I was done with.
Hmm.
Like I'd never felt, I knew what depression was, but I didn't know how it felt like, when you're going through depression, it's like, sometimes you get suicidal, sometimes you feel like you're done
Did
with.
you ever get suicidal?
Yeah, many times.
Hmm.
Many times I did.
So how did you come
Um,
out of it?
I mean, I got family support a lot, emotional support, work. If you keep yourself busy, that also
Hmm.
helps a lot.
Hmm.
Meditation helps a lot.
Hmm.
If required, taking medication also helps a lot.
Hmm.
And instead of, channelizing your energy
Hmm.
into negative thoughts, I
Hmm.
took the path of channelizing my energy into something positive, which helped me a
Hmm.
lot.
Hmm.
So, like few months while I was waiting for my visa, I was depressed completely. 2, 3 months I was lost. I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I would have this dark circles under my eyes. I used to be such a pretty, I mean, I still am. Like even that time also I was still cute, but you lose that confidence. It affects your self-confidence. It affects your dignity. It affects many things like you wouldn't even realize. And yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
But with the help of my family and friends, and I started doing meditation. I started playing guitar. I love music. Music is like my first love always. So even that helped. Like, anyone going through this, just find a hobby. It's like something you're passionate about.
But Vaishali, when you were there and going through all this, uh,
Mm-hmm.
family also there, or they were in India only?
They were in India,
Okay.
but they were there with me
Alone.
virtually. The virtual support was always there.
Virtual support was there, but
Yeah.
physically, I think you were alone, right?
Yes, yes. Once I started getting busy with my life again, things got easier for me. I started
Hmm.
forgetting everything. I had blocked him. I was doing great and everything was amazing.
Hmm.
So, keeping busy also helps a lot.
Hmm.
Meditation, having a positive mindset
Hmm.
towards life, towards things. I mean, yeah, what I went through, nobody deserves that. Nobody.
Hmm.
But you make mistakes and you learn from mistakes and then you move on.
Hmm.
I've seen people like, I still remember when I was in the hospital, a lady
Hmm.
officer came to me, and even that time also, I was not about to tell them everything that happened to me. They
Hmm.
asked me what happened.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking, should I tell them? Should I tell them? What will I do? That fear that you have in your heart about what you will do, about losing. Like, even when you go through the domestic violence thing, you lose your confidence, a lot.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that time I remember she had told me, just remember, once an abuser, always an abuser. So that kind of
Hmm.
hit me, and I still remember that. And then I called my dad and I asked them, what should I do? And he's like, just tell them everything.
Hmm.
I was like, that's it. I'm done.
Hmm.
So slowly, things got a little easier for me, and things were great until June 22, until I decided that, okay, you know what, he's been, calling, and when I used to talk on the phone, I started talking to him like 1 or 2 years after I left him.
Hmm.
Because he would call my parents and my dad would say it looks like he has changed and all that stuff. So I started talking to him again. And he would sound nice. He would be like convincing, like not drunk, and he would say that I'm taking my medication, I'm doing all that. As soon as I came back, things were okay. 1 month he stayed at my family's house, like in Gujarat. That's what my
Hmm.
dad had asked him. Like, if you want to stay with her again, I want to see how you are with her.
Hmm.
So he stayed with us for 1 month. We argued verbally, but it was like a small argument. I should have
Hmm.
understood then. I should have, like, took it as a red flag, but I
But
didn't
you
again.
also forgot what the policewoman told you once her abuse.
Exactly. Always an abuser. Always.
Hmm.
So, exactly, and I mean, it happened, and then we went to Japan. We decided, let's go to Japan, and then we went to Japan, and
Hmm.
it happened all over again. This time, even more worse.
What
Way
do you
worse than
mean?
what it
It was?
worse, like worse.
Huh, look, what do you mean? How was? What happened? Because
He
already it
pulled
was
my
so much on
hair.
you.
He pulled my hair from the main door and he's dragging me towards the balcony. We were living on the 16th floor, and he wanted to throw me off the balcony of the 16th floor. And we bought a puppy
Hmm.
to, make things better, like, at least
Hmm.
some positive energy and stuff. He even threatened me to throw our puppy off. He's only 3 months old.
In Japan.
3 months in Japan.
See, and he got a job in Japan, USA? Or how?
Yeah,
Why did you go to Japan?
so Japan, how he got a job again, that is also another story. He lied about it. He didn't even have the skill for that particular job, and he had used a proxy. I don't know if you know that term in IT. If you're in IT, you would know that term. How he got a job was he took somebody's help
Hmm.
to do the technical interview for him because he didn't have the skills. And also another thing he lied about was his vision. He didn't tell me that he had lost 70% of his vision before I came back to India.
Mm-hmm.
Though I wouldn't have any issues with that. After I found out, I mean, I was surprised. I was like, why didn't you tell me? Though I
Hmm.
didn't have any problem, but only problem I had with him was his anger and his alcohol
Hmm.
and him not taking treatment.
Hmm.
So the reason for his eye problem was because many years later he wanted to have blue eyes. His natural eyes are black.
Hmm.
So he wanted to have blue eyes, and everybody knows if changing your eye color is illegal procedure. You're not
Hmm.
supposed to do that. And he got it done in South India somewhere. Only two
Hmm.
places do that, and that too illegally, somewhere in the Middle East, and one is in South India.
Oh. Hmm.
So he got his eyes changed. Few years he was okay, but suddenly he started having problem with one eye,
Hmm.
and he eventually got glaucoma, which has no cure.
Hmm.
And I had known about his eye color changing operation before I got married.
Hmm.
Okay. But after I left him, it got worse. Like it got very bad. He lost 70% of his vision.
Hmm.
Eventually, he had to go back to his natural eye color, another procedure that you're not supposed to do. You're not
Hmm.
supposed to play with your eyes.
Hmm.
So he lost vision. I found out when I came back to India, sitting near me, and I saw his eyes are gray. Like, you know how, like,
Hmm.
people would have who don't have vision. I was like, why your eyes are like this? What's this? What happened?
Hmm.
So then he told me that he had lost 70% of his vision. He can only see from one eye. So
Hmm.
and that was one lie that he lied to his company, you
Hmm.
know, and so that's how he got the job, through lies. He's like a
Hmm.
pathological liar. That's the
Hmm.
perfect term for him.
Hmm.
And he got the job and he started lying about drinking also. He would go hide and then drink after office. He would like drink cheap drinks, so I wouldn't know how much he's spending from the card because we had joint account.
Hmm.
Okay. So he would go and drink cheap drinks there, like 50 and drink, 40 and drink, like very cheap liquor,
Hmm.
just to get drunk. Like from
Hmm.
that, you can realize how much the kind of alcoholic person he was, and that he hadn't changed. And even many times he went to office drunk.
Hmm.
And yeah, one night we went out for
Hmm.
dinner, and he was drinking and he started calling my mother names. I
Hmm.
was like, what are you doing? What's going on? I thought you had changed. I mean, I did not, come back for this and all that stuff. And then
Hmm.
he started arguing in front of everyone out in public. And I just left. That time it was only verbally he was yelling at me. Okay.
Hmm.
And I left and I decided to stay outside that night. So I booked a hotel room for me and I stayed there.
Hmm.
Next morning, when I go back home, he's still drinking. I see like 8 to 10 beer cans there at the table. He's drinking.
Hmm.
And that's where he dragged my hair. Like, where did you go? Where were you all night? And all that stuff. It's like, I did not want to, come to you when you're this drunk and you still haven't stopped drinking.
Hmm.
So during that time, he's pulling my hair. I'm like screaming for help, help, help. I had to call the police that time.
Hmm.
So while I'm calling the police, he took my phone and he broke my phone into pieces.
Hmm.
So I cannot call for help. He broke it completely.
Hmm.
And that was very tough. Like I didn't know what to do. And then night, at that time also while I came back, I went to my closet and I saw my luggage was all messed up. All my important documents were torn. My
Hmm.
visa was gone. My debit card was broken. My jewelry was missing. My Mangal Sutra was missing. Everything was gone.
Hmm.
So he basically wanted me to be helpless, you know, like
Hmm.
literally helpless. But I did not give up there. I
Hmm.
just literally took one suitcase and left. That was it for me, that was the last time. That was it. I took the suitcase, I left. I called my dad, I called my best friend, and they somehow, arranged for me like hotel stay and everything. And I got in touch with the embassy right away. And embassy, they called me next morning and they gave him a warning. They asked him to get me a new phone, which he did. They also asked him to arrange for my luggage to be shifted to India. They first asked me if I wanted to stay with him. I was like, no, I don't want to stay with him. I want to go back. I want to go back home. Luckily, my passport was in the purse that I was carrying, so that was safe. But all my other US IDs, my US driver's license, my Visa card, my debit card, my jewelry, everything was missing, gone. So, and yeah, so embassy, they asked him to arrange for all these expenses. He's like, I don't have that much money. I can only do this. I can only do that. He was not even able to afford a one-way ticket for me. Just for my luggage and all that stuff, it was costing me over $1,000 because I had too much luggage,
Hmm.
Like I had moved, like moving completely, relocating.
Hmm.
So yeah, but eventually, somehow my dad arranged and I left. He only gave me 1100, which was not even like 80% of the ticket, for going back because urgent, I had to leave right away. And so they also asked him to let me take all my stuff and let me take all my luggage and go. So within 2 days, I took all my bags. My friend arranged, he knew few people in Japan and Tokyo, so he arranged two other people to help me to pack my luggage and leave. So
Very
that was the
brave
last
of
time.
you, Vaishali, to undergo so much all alone
I
in.
know, thank you. I know. I mean, I sometimes don't believe it, like how God made me so strong like this, and how sometimes I even feel, why did He make me so stupid to believe that man again? Now it's not gonna happen again for sure.
But is
Like,
he in touch with you?
no, no, absolutely not. I will not let him come even near me or even near my parents. He even tried to call my mother after I left him. I mean, I still have the email and, WhatsApp screenshots. Mama, I'm sorry. Mama, I wish you, Mama, this. Like, all that sweet talk. And I blocked him from my mother's phone. He's calling my dad. He's calling my brother. I had them block him everywhere. And after the police complaint was filed, right, in India,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
maybe because the complaint went to him, right, then he
Hmm.
stopped contacting everybody.
Hmm.
After, even I left Japan for 1 month, he's sending me emails, day one not drinking, day two not drinking. It's all going in junk because he was blocked. And I'm
Hmm.
thinking to myself, dude, you're just joking, because it's
Hmm.
not gonna affect me anymore.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna believe a thing you say from now on. Like I did not reply to him, but I'm saying this to myself. I found it very funny.
So, how
And
did this trauma affect you, your mental health, and your perception about relationships and personal boundaries?
so if I talk about relationship, I would say that I still have issues with that. I would still say I still have trust issues, but because it just wouldn't go away like that.
Hmm.
It stays with you.
Hmm.
I'm not sure how long it's gonna stay with me, if it's a forever thing or if it's just a temporary thing, or if I'll ever want to meet somebody, if I ever want to settle down with somebody. I'm not sure because I am mentally not ready for that, or emotionally. Even
Hmm.
after coming back from Japan, I started having thoughts about killing myself. I thought I was done because, you're in your mid 30s,
Hmm.
and you would think you were so settled in your life. You were settled in the US. Everything was amazing. And then you left everything for this. And now
Hmm.
you're back to square one. Like, what are you
Hmm.
going to do? How are you going to get back up?
Hmm.
I thought it was done. Like, the age also plays an important role in this. Sometimes I
Hmm.
feel like. So I'm like, I was in depression for more than 7 to 8 months after I came back from Japan. Even in fact, in US, I wasn't in depression. I was like, only it took me 2, 3 months to get out of it. But here in
Hmm.
India, especially because, you don't have much to do
Hmm.
and you're like completely lost. And then my dad, he encouraged me to do some things like, it's not done yet. Your life is not over. It's only 30% of your life, his
Hmm.
words. You still have
Hmm.
70% to go. You still can do so much. I mean, so many
Hmm.
people encouraged me and they know how much, I mean, they know what I'm capable of doing, they know my
Hmm.
strength. So
Hmm.
family support is very important. Very,
Hmm.
I would say always keep your family closer.
Hmm.
And if anybody listening to this is going through any kind of abuse, don't keep it to yourself, reach out, talk to people, get help, talk to your parents, talk to
Hmm.
your friends, and I mean, it's not tough to get out of it. You would think initially like, what you will do, but it's not.
You use the word tough. How
Hmm.
tough it is to get out of it, and any misconceptions that you would like to address about domestic violence.
Misconception is that, especially when it comes to, I've seen people go through this for years, like 12, 13 years, 15 years. Eventually, I've seen people die, especially after having kids.
Hmm.
They have this thought in their head like, we have
Hmm.
kids, they need a father figure. Well, how
Hmm.
will I do it alone? I cannot
Hmm.
do it alone is the main thought they have. I
Hmm.
cannot do this. I'm old. I'm this age. I'm already 35. What am I gonna do?
Hmm.
I think it's all just in your head. Once you get out of it, initially it is tough. I wouldn't lie. Initially it's tough, but it gets easier with time. You know,
Hmm.
you just move on and it gets very easier.
And what do you think? What are the complexities of domestic violence and its impact on survivors' mind? I'm asking it again because it leaves a trauma. So how do you come out of the trauma? Like, did you seek therapy? Did you seek counseling? And,
So
like,
I did counseling in the US when it
hmm,
happened in 2018. I did. In India, I did not. Because, I mean, for me personally, I have a dog, right? So
hmm,
dogs are known as the best emotional support. I mean,
hmm,
I'm sure people know that. For me personally, that helped. For me personally, my family helped me a lot. Meditation,
hmm,
starting my own company, keeping me busy, you know, that
hmm,
all things helped me a lot. And I mean, naturally, I'm a very positive person. Like I look at glass half full, not half empty kind of a person.
hmm, hmm,
So having that mindset also helps a lot.
hmm. Have you filed for divorce?
Yeah. So as soon as I came back, that's another thing. As soon as I came back to India from Japan, this was in October end, 31st. I
23,
came
2023,
22.
22. Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm,
So I wrote an email to our foreign affair minister, to Women's Commission Cell in Delhi, to few other government bodies like central level. Okay. Somebody suggested this to me because I want justice. I'm not going to let him go, of course, for what he did to me. He didn't even take his punishment in the US. He just left the country, and then again he did that to me and thinking I won't do anything again. He was wrong this time. I'm not going to let him go. So, and I came back, I wrote letters, I got response from three officials. Okay. I even wrote a letter to High Court judge of Gujarat.
hmm, hmm,
So turns out the High Court had asked our district judge to arrange a meeting for me with him.
hmm,
And I met them and they arranged me one of the best lawyers in our town. Okay,
hmm,
he usually like best lawyer, like literally the best. And
hmm,
then the Women's Commission, they helped me with filing the FIR because while I was here, they said
hmm,
according to Indian law, if the incident didn't happen here, they
hmm,
usually don't take the complaint. I was like, but I am Indian citizen, he is Indian citizen, and it happened to me, it happened to an Indian citizen on a foreign country, and I
hmm,
need justice.
hmm,
Initially, they were not taking my complaint, saying just let us know when he comes back to India and then we'll file a complaint. But Delhi Women's NRI cell was behind our SP, district SP, and because of them, they took my complaint. And eventually, within a month, he also got fired from the job. And the company found out about all the lies, and he was on a probation period and he was not performing well. And they also eventually ran some kind of test, physical test, and they found out about his vision. So they asked him to resign. And IT companies, they don't fire you, they give you an option of resigning. So it doesn't
hmm,
affect your profile.
hmm,
So they asked him to resign and he resigned and he came back to India. And
hmm,
one mistake he did, he came back to India, he called my mother from unknown number.
hmm,
As soon as he did that, I called our SP. I said he's here.
hmm,
And they right away they filed the complaint. And next day they sent a team to Tamil Nadu to arrest him, but he was not home at the time. So they waited for one day while I think his father might have called him saying that police is here, so don't come. So he didn't come. They waited for 2 days. And that investigation is going on. Other file for the divorce, which is going on. I don't know why it's taking so long. I mean, I should be able to at least get the divorce, from him. So it's been 1.5 years. I'm still waiting for divorce. I'm still waiting for the criminal case to go on. I'm still waiting for my maintenance. And still waiting.
Thank you, Vaishali, for sharing your story. And you are a remarkable woman, I must say.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks a lot for sharing your story. Anything
Thank
else
you.
you would like to say or add to it?
I mean, I would like to say this to those who are going through this right now and who are afraid to come out of it. I would say, like, as someone who's been through this, I know it is very hard to live with that fear, pain, and shame, because of the family pressure or because of the financial dependency that you have. I know how hard it is to be trapped, but I also know that you're not alone and that you deserve better.
Thank you. Thank you, Vaishali.
Thank you.
You were listening to Zindagi Matters, special edition on mental health and human rights, supported by Taiwan Foundation for Democracy.